Hello, and a big orange welcome to everyone who decided to tune in today to our Facebook Live event, where we'll be talking about issues like financial aid and other resources we have available to students. My name is Ariana Worthy. I'm a senior here at the university studying aerospace engineer, and let me just say I'm so happy to have the opportunity to talk with potential students, parents, friends, and family, and everyone else who tuned in to learn more about the resources we have here at Rocky Top. We have two amazing panelists here with us who's going to give even better information about the resources we have available. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to them to introduce themselves and to kick off our program for tonight.
Thank you so much, Ariana. My name is Spencer. I'm a senior one-stop counselor.
And my name is Tim Woods. I'm with the Office of Financial Aid and Scholarships. And as Ariana and Spencer said, we're really excited about being here tonight. We've got some great information for you. We're going to have a brief overview of some slides and then move on to take all your wonderful questions that we're anticipating for tonight. So we thought we would start with talking about why would you choose UT for your college career? And we could probably spend the entire night just coming down with a list of great reasons to attend UT. We've got a few posted up on the board. One of my favorites really is the fact that over 80% of our graduates within 6 months are either in graduate school or already employed, and I think that's pretty amazing.
Absolutely, and we could talk about slides, forever and get that sort of thing. But I think the best way to know, why you want to choose UT is to kind of get an idea of our story. Ariana, can you tell us a little bit about why you chose UT?
Yes, of course, Spencer. So for me, I think the family atmosphere really just sealed the deal in my decision to come to UT. As an out-of-state student from Louisiana, I was making a pretty big jump coming 10 hours away from home. So when I got here for orientation and my different tours and even football events, when you get there and you wear that big orange, everyone is family at that point. We all have a common goal, and it's this university. And so I'm so happy to be a part of it and to build my experiences for the past 4 years that have equipped me to be a great person in professional and personal life.
That's really cool.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And so one of our first communications we'll be sending out to our newly admitted students, we're very excited about it, will be the financial aid award offer. So please watch for that. That's going to be coming in the mail to our new admits. And it's probably going to come in one of two forms, either a final award letter or an estimated award. And don't panic if you get the estimated award. It just simply means that's the best snapshot we have for you today, but there's some information, additional information that UT needs from you, and we'll talk to you about that in just a few moments. But the award offer itself, it's going to include a lot of really great information. It's initially going to include information about what we estimate to be the cost of attendance for the academic year. It's going to reflect your eligibility for any federal, state, or institutional awards, whether that's grants, scholarships that might be offered to a student, and also student loans, the options to borrow if needed to help with your cost. And costs will be broken down into direct costs for what a student would pay for tuition and fees, but also some suggested budgets for indirect expenses, which you might want to plan for in terms of your costs for books and supplies and personal expenses, transportation. We'll also do some math for you on this award offer and deduct the actual financial aid that's been offered to a student to help them understand what that difference would be, so what they may be necessary to pay for that difference in the cost of education. In a small number of cases, that might include information about refunds that a student would receive.
It's important to us that you know about this financial offer, that you know what these specifics kind of look like, but it's not super useful to you unless you know what to do next. So I wanted to bring up kind of a look at your next steps from here. So basically getting this financial offer that Tim had mentioned is going to be the next thing that you're waiting for. So we're looking at getting that. Be on the lookout for it. If you haven't gotten it yet, that's totally fine, totally normal there. Be on the lookout for it. Once you receive that, of course, take a look at it, review it, accept what is offered to you there if you're interested. There may be some things like loans that you may or may not be interested in accepting, and so be aware of those. After that, you're going to confirm your enrollment. So that's something that you do on your MyUTK account, that student account that you have set up. If you haven't gone there yet, please do. But on your MyUTK account, you would pay that $250 enrollment deposit. I recommend doing it as soon as you can if you've made that decision, because it opens up the next things that I'll mention for you. But the actual deadline is May 1st for that if you're still trying to decide. After that, if you ever want anyone to be able to speak on account specifics, financial things, and some academic things as well, you need to make sure that they're added as an authorized user. It's actually federal law that requires individuals to be listed as an authorized user for you. Otherwise, we can't talk about too many specifics with them. It would be as a student, your protected information. So add users if you want anyone to be able to talk about that sort of thing. And then Tim mentioned briefly refunds. So if you do ever have a moment where you have enough financial aid or overpayment to cover everything that is there in the way of direct costs, and you would be getting a refund in that case, I really recommend setting up the direct deposit e-refund option. If you don't set up anything, it's still going to go to you, of course, but the fastest way for it to get to you is setting up that refund option, and that's something you can do now. I've got a URL listed on the screen there for that if you want to see a little more information there.
Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about verification. So the U.S. Department of Education does require colleges and universities to verify the information that you and the family reported on your FAFSA. So if your award letter is estimated, that means we need that additional information from you. If you're selected for it, those requirements will be reported on MyUTK, and the University of Tennessee needs that information back from you no later than July 1st. Once you receive the request, a lot of it's very straightforward. We're here to help you understand that process and be able to confirm that final eligibility. So as soon as you can get that information back to us, the sooner we can confirm, all your qualifications for the various forms of financial aid. If for any reason you're delayed in getting that information back, unfortunately, we're not able to disperse that aid until we complete that verification. So again, by July 1st would be ideal. Earlier is even better.
It's really strange to be thinking about July 1st. It feels like that's pretty far away, but it will be here before we know it, honestly. So if we're thinking about the next semester and what that's going to look like in the upcoming fall, an important time to think about is the actual payment due date for the semester and what that's going to be. In any given semester, you actually make payments prior to the semester starting. So all those direct costs you would pay before the semester. But one thing I wanted to talk about is we have basically options for you to set it up where you pay throughout a semester instead of everything before the semester. In particular, I'll talk about our deferred payment plan option. So instead of everything being due before the semester begins, basically the way the deferred payment plan works, it splits everything into 3 payments total.
Which is great.
So yeah, and I've got some examples on the screen there because I can say that, but without actually seeing it, it's tough to understand exactly how it works. So kind of like you were talking about a moment ago, Tim, we've got our tuition and fees and room and board, those direct costs that would be charged by the university. We've got our financial aid, so we subtract that out, and then you can see how it builds our 3 installments there. So the first installment still happens on that first due date before classes begin. It would be 50% of the total balance. The second installment is 25% of the total balance. It's about 45 days later generally. And then the last one is shortly after that, about 15 days later, also 25%. So if you're looking at it, instead of 100% on day one, it's 50, 25, 25. And so you can see how that kind of spreads things out just a little bit and gives you a little more time to make those arrangements, to be thinking about that sort of thing and how you want to go about making those payments.
Could be a great option for a lot of our families, really helpful.
Absolutely. And still, even with that, I know that those can still be, big numbers to think about. So we also want to think about, different options for making that payment when it comes to financial aid too. We're kind of familiar with some, we've talked about loans and that sort of thing, just generally speaking, but other types of payment as well, like Parent Plus loans are also an option. Parent Plus loans, the name kind of tells you what it is in a way. It's a loan that is unsubsidized. It's a loan that is for the parents, but it still pays for those educational expenses directly to the school. Essentially, they would apply for that, and I've got some information there, a URL if you want to see more about it, but they would apply for that, and then it can pay up to a certain amount of the educational expenses based on what other financial assistance a student is already receiving. There are also loan options beyond that too, but those kind of fall into the realm of private or alternative loans. There are a lot of different resources for those, a lot of different spots. The big thing that I'll say with private loans, and honestly, loans in general, borrow responsibly. It's really important to us that you do your research there, that you understand what you're accepting before you accept anything like that. In fact, we actually have, again, another URL I have on the screen for you. You can go to that site and we have a tool that can help match you with loans that may be kind of what you're looking for. So it's a good resource to get started with, the research that you're doing there. It's a lot of info and we know that, and so, we want to help with that when we can.
And really, just to add to what Spencer said, just borrowing responsibly, only accept what's offered to you if necessary, and consider it really an investment in your future. That's the way to look at it. The federal loans often are the first loans you want to consider. And speaking of other resources, we've got a few tools and resources listed up here. For contact information for our one-stop student services. If you reach out to us for additional questions, you'll probably end up with someone like Spencer or someone else on the team to help answer your numerous questions. We also have a Center for Financial Wellness that we encourage students and families to contact, and they can help you map out how you're going to meet those obligations for not just the first year, but for multiple years throughout your college career. And if you're interested in learning about terminology that we've used tonight in our conversation about financial aid, or information that's in that forthcoming award letter that we hope to have to you later this month, please visit the additional URL. And then finally, here is contact information for any additional questions that you might have, for both by email and by telephone. And I think at this point, we're going to open the floor for any of your questions.
Yes, thank you so much, Tim and Spencer, for giving us all that information. And like we said earlier, we want to dedicate this time to answering the questions you guys are sending in. So don't forget, if you have any questions about what was said or something that was not said, definitely send those in and we'll get to those right away. There's one thing that Tim and Spencer both mentioned that I want to highlight from a student perspective is the MyUTK account. That is your best friend. I highly recommend that everyone get very, very well acclimated with that, even once you become a student, but you get notifications to that system, so that way as that July 1st deadline comes up, as that May 1st deadline for the enrollment deposit come up, you're able to know what's going on and what you need to keep up with. So definitely get well acclimated with that and just kind of venture around. There's a lot of cool stuff on there that tells you more about the university, more about classes, as well as your financial aid offers and packages. So just a great resource to use. As I mentioned, we had some really great questions come in, so I'm going to start off with them first. So does the financial aid package go to all accepted students, or do you need to confirm your enrollment first?
Right, so I mentioned that $250 enrollment deposit. You do not have to do that before you would receive this information. So you're going to receive, that financial offer letter so you can see those specifics. We want you making an informed decision before you make any sort of decision. That's really important to us, like I was saying. So no, you don't have to pay that. It does open some things that are important, like your housing and orientation setup, so I recommend doing it as soon as you have made a decision, but make that decision first. We don't want anyone running into anything like that if they're not well informed yet.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So moving on to our next question, when will I get my financial aid package? This month, or when can they kind of give a time range for that?
Really, there are a lot of folks in the One Stop and the Financial Aid Office that we're doing a tremendous amount of testing and working with our partners all across campus to get that information out to you as soon as possible. And our target is this month. And so we do hope to have that information to students very soon. Very excited about sharing that information with you so that, as Spencer said, you can make a very informed decision to make that college choice. UT is a wonderful place.
Yeah, and that just goes back to your MyUTK account. As you guys log into that and set up notification systems, whenever it does come within the month, you guys will be able to have that immediately available to you, so that way you can check it out and get enrolled even sooner. And the next question we have is more about scholarships. Okay. So do individual college scholarships, specifically like the College of Engineering, show up on the award letter as well?
We work real closely with our academic units, and so some of the areas on campus that are able to offer competitive scholarships to incoming students work with us to include that in our financial aid award letter. And so in some cases that's going to be reflected on that forthcoming award letter. But because we do get responses from students who may make another choice, we're sometimes able to re-award those funds. And so some awarding could happen after the fact, but everyone is trying to get that information coordinated and in that one letter, so a good number of those letters are going to reflect that information about college and departmental scholarships.
And go tickle whoever sent this question in. Go fellow engineers. Moving on to our next question, how do you get classified as an in-state resident?
Sure. So whenever you actually apply to the university, if you remember when you were doing your application, we ask a lot of questions in that because we're trying to learn more about you, figure out who we're working with, that sort of thing. And so we make that original determination based on the information that you submit to us. So, based on your address, the info that you're submitting to us, that sort of thing. Now, let's say you get into a situation where you are classified in a way that you don't believe is accurate, or you think that there is something, that should be different there. That's one of the many reasons, and one of the things that we talked about today, that you can reach out to the One Stop, and we can basically help get you on the right track there, answer some questions for you, and if, a change does need to be made, talk you through that process and help with that. But short answer to your question, it's generally automatic in the first place, and if there are any changes needed, we're more than happy to help.
Yes, and I definitely want to highlight something as an out-of-state student. The Academic Common Market, I know a lot of people may not be familiar with it, but the Academic Common Market is a program where students who are out of state who may be interested in majors that their own state does not provide, you have the opportunity to become classified as an in-state resident. I am from Louisiana and I'm on the Academic Common Market program as an aerospace engineering student. So just another resource for any out-of-state students who are tuned in tonight who are really considering University of Tennessee and want to look at more options. I highly encourage you to check out the Academic Common Market. It's for most of your southeastern schools. Specifically, University of Tennessee is one of them where they offer that benefit to where if your state does not offer a specific program that our university does, you're able to be classified as an in-state resident. So check out different resources, how Spencer was saying. If you think that something doesn't align correctly or you may be on that program, get in contact with us. That way we can give out more information concerning that. And so our next question for tonight is, what if I'm still waiting to see if I was admitted? How, I guess they're more so referring to when will they expect that financial aid if they haven't received an admittance letter yet.
Yeah. Those forthcoming award letters that we hope to send out to all of our admitted students, once we start that process, that's going to continue throughout the entire spring. So if a student's admitted after the fact, they should anticipate a follow-up letter shortly thereafter. So we'll be on a regular cycle of sending out additional award letters to newly admitted students, letting them know about their qualifications. So as Spencer said, they can make an informed decision as well.
And this is going to sound really nerdy, but I like our website a lot. Yeah. onestop.utk.edu. There we have information about financial aid and about cost estimate that if you're in this spot like we're talking about and you haven't been admitted just yet but you want to know more, you can learn more. We've got institutional scholarships there that have specific information, so you can look at it, and even though it doesn't have your name on it, you can say, okay, I know I fall into this group, so maybe I can be looking at this under our scholarship section. You can see our estimated cost, so you can get an idea of what that cost could look like. So even if you're waiting on an admissions decision, and like Tim said with our financial offer letters, we're working on getting those out as quickly as we can as well. Even if you're still waiting on that at the moment, you can begin making those preparations, be thinking about what you could be paying even though you don't have specifics to you just yet.
And I agree with everything Spencer said, and I also just wanted to put in a plug. We have what's called a net price calculator that an interested person could jump into that site, input some information, and then it'll help determine both cost and anticipated eligibility.
Yes, so while we're on the topic of scholarships, are there any additional scholarships that admitted students can apply for through the university?
The beauty of our process is that we offer scholarships automatically in some cases for students who meet that criteria. And then we have a host of competitive awards. And if you submitted the one competitive scholarship application, that's really what puts you in the queue to be considered for all the variety of different awards we offer. And so if a new decision's made on a competitive scholarship because we may have received a decline for a college or departmental award, those committees who are involved in making the decision, they're going to go back to the applicant pool, and give preference to students who applied for scholarships. Because again, our one application matches you to numerous opportunities, and then different committees are making decisions about ranking and evaluating those applications for possible awards.
And the great thing about that application too is it isn't just one and done. It isn't just, oh, I didn't do it this first time, I can never do it again.
Yes.
It opens each year in January, so that first time competitive application will be a continuing competitive application next year in January as well. So it will reopen, no worries there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now moving more so along to FAFSA and questions of that nature, do you have to complete a FAFSA to get an award letter?
You do not. Award letters will be sent out if you've been selected, for example, for an institutional scholarship, and that information is included. You're going to have that summarized on your award letter. Now, for our Tennessee students, in-state students, the FAFSA is a mandatory form for several forms of financial aid, but first and foremost, it must be submitted for our state lottery scholarship, the Hope Scholarship. But other forms of institutional awards do require a FAFSA because we offer scholarships both based on merit and financial need, and in some cases a combination of the two things. So we recommend all students, both in-state and out-of-state, submit that FAFSA form because it offers every student the option to borrow if necessary, and that's still a decision you make at a later point. So to have those options, we recommend all students file the FAFSA.
Right. Even though the FAFSA is your application for that type of aid and allows you to borrow, it's not a strict commitment or anything like that. So most students that I speak with, most or all, I'm going to recommend completing the FAFSA to at least see what can be offered to you.
Yes, and as a student myself, I highly recommend doing your FAFSA. Once you get to college, you'll have to repeat that application maybe 1 or 2 times throughout your matriculation of college, but FAFSA gives you more and more options, and as we've been stressing that tonight, options is the best thing you can have. One, just to see what are the different situations you could be in financially, and you never know. We talked about refunds. By you filling out that FAFSA, maybe something pops up on there to where you get a refund back, and as a college student, guys, I can promise you more money is good than less money, so you definitely want to get as many options as possible as you can find. The next question we have is, what if my parents work for the state of Tennessee as a teacher? Are there any waivers that apply to me as a student?
Dependents of Tennessee state employees qualify for a 25% discount off of the tuition. And there is paperwork involved, and so we would encourage your parent to get that paperwork started, have that ready when they come for orientation early in the summer. And Spencer may be able to address some of the submission of that paperwork.
Absolutely. You can turn that form into the One Stop. You're probably finding a trend there, but you can turn that into us. I always recommend, we do have some basic info about that form on our website and on the website of our bursar's office. But I always recommend starting with, if your parent is an educator, with the school that they work at, because they may already have some formatted type of that document that may have some things filled in already, like school-specific information, or at least the people that need to sign it will be there at the school. So absolutely, there are documents like that, and we can help with that. Your school can help, and it would be turned into us eventually.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited for this next question. How can I find out what programs are in the academic comment market? And I'll actually fill this one first and then pass it off to you guys. Sure. So I mentioned the academic comment market earlier. The best tool to use is their website. So you'll just simply type in academic comment market, and then their website will pop up. It'll give you information that outlines how the programs are set up. And then from there, they have this amazing feature where you can put in what state you reside in, what schools you're interested in looking at by state. So that way you'll put in Tennessee, for example, and every school that is a part of the academic comment market program will pop up, and then from there, once you click on those schools, it'll show you the majors that align with your specific state as far as what majors are applicable to you. So for example, for Louisiana, aerospace obviously popped up, so when I put in my home state, which was Louisiana, and I put in my state of interest, which was Tennessee, the majors that were not offered in my home state then popped up, and that way you can look and see if there's anything that really resonates with you, if you're interested in, and again, you're just getting more resources to know about what programs you really didn't know maybe UT had, or you didn't know that your state did not have. So definitely recommend checking out Academic Comment Market website, and it has a lot of amazing features on there to look around and browse.
I have nothing to add to that. That's perfect.
No, that was brilliant.
Yes, absolutely. And then our next question is, will the UT Promise Scholarship show up on my award letter?
That is our intent. We plan to, as well as notify students about any federal and state financial aid that they're also qualified to receive. We will be including information for those students who are eligible for our new UT Promise Scholarship. We're very excited about that. It's a new opportunity for us to offer assistance to a greater number of students, help address that financial need, and help you make, again, a more informed decision and see that college can be affordable. There are a lot of ways. Sometimes you have to be creative in putting the information together, but lots of possibilities for helping you meet the cost of attendance.
Absolutely. And next we have a really great question. Is it too late to take the SAT/ACT to apply for the volunteer scholarship?
Unfortunately, it is past the date. The last ACT or SAT score that we're able to consider for eligibility for the volunteer scholarship is from December of 2019. So December of your senior year is the last one we're able to honor for eligibility for the scholarship. Now, some of our in-state students may elect to take it to see if they would qualify for a merit supplement to the Hope Scholarship. And if that's the case, we would encourage visiting the One Stop website, following the links to more details on our Hope Scholarship based in the state of Tennessee to learn about those requirements, because in addition to the Hope, some students may receive a supplement based on either financial need or merit. And that could be an incentive for some students to take the ACT again this spring.
Yes. So definitely still send in your most updated scores. Again, as you hear, there's a lot of different opportunities that the university does offer. So whenever you take a new ACT or SAT, still send in those scores because it's useful for just your universities to have them, whether it's for class registration or, again, financial aid offers that could be applicable to you. So moving on to more questions centered around loans. So how do I accept a loan?
Sure. So once we have this financial information listed on your account, after we get these award letters to you, I should say, if we haven't already, you're not just going to get it in a physical letter alone. It's going to be available on your MyUTK account. So that is where you accept it. On your MyUTK account, you'll see an option that reads Accept Award Offer. And you would just follow the steps listed there. They are a little detailed, so if you do have questions about them, of course, we're more than happy to help. But we put each step there that you can go through to accept it and what you need to complete.
Yeah. And when you're on MyUTK, going through the steps of completing that acceptance of any student loan that's offered, you may be prompted to respond to a couple of questions, some additional information we need. But we're going to try to keep all that simple and straightforward for you so that this can be just a seamless sort of successful part of your getting familiar with college and the process in financial aid.
Yes, these are amazing questions, guys. Keep sending them in. We're so happy to be able to offer this much information to you guys and resources to those who may have had similar questions. So another question we have about loans are the Parent Plus loan applications different for every school?
Now, to apply for the parent loan, this is something that the parent of an undergraduate student would do online at the Federal Department of Ed's website. And because the U.S. Department of Education is the lender for the parent loan, and so we can direct you. We have information on the One Stop website, and so you do your application electronically online, and then generally you get the results of that request pretty quickly, and then the U.S. Department of Ed consults with the school, says that a parent's been approved for X amount in student loan, and we certify that information to make sure that when we combine it with your other financial aid, that it's an allowable amount based on cost of attendance.
Right. So it's not going to be, super UT specific. There may not be a ton of orange on the application itself,
Right.
But it is going to be specified to us and actually sent directly to us too after your parent does apply for that.
Absolutely. And I love this question. This was definitely my mentality when I was applying for universities. So how can a parent become an authorized user so they can see and pay for tuition?
Like that and pay for.
Yes.
So if you're not tired of hearing us say MyUTK over and over again, it's a super useful site, I promise. On MyUTK, you're looking for an option that reads FERPA. That's an acronym, F-E-R-P-A, FERPA. There is FERPA Academic and FERPA Financial Authorization. You'll find that on MyUTK. There you can add those users that we were talking about. It asks you to add, I believe, just an email address for an authorized user for financial and a name and a code word of sorts for academic specifics. And like we were talking about before, the reason why that's so important, the FERPA requires us to basically have that authorization to give any specific information. So like you were talking about, Ariana, if it's as simple as, hey, how much do I need to pay for my student? We won't be able to get specific about what that amount is if your parent is not an authorized user for you. So to help us help out, make sure that you add any authorized users that you're wanting on MyUTK.
Absolutely, and even more so from a student perspective, the authorized users has come in so much handy for me outside of just paying for tuition. I know sometimes as a college student, I just get kind of wrapped up in classes and doing everything on campus that my parents are able to go in there and check and remind me, hey, do you mind going by the One Stop office and seeing what this is? Or hey, don't forget to go do this. So in college, you don't have to do this process alone. That's not what it's intended for. So again, that authorized users, if anything at all, it is just a second eyes looking over everything you accept, whether it's loans, whether it's your award letter, whether it's a notification about classes. It's just really, really great to have someone who's a trusted parent, guardian, family friend go in there and look after you and have that second set of eyes on there. So definitely, like Spencer was saying, do that as soon as possible, because as all these new documents coming in for enrollment, you definitely want a second set of eyes looking at it, since this is your first or second or however many times you've done this. You definitely just want someone in there to be a guidance to you. So moving on to our next question, do I need to apply separately for Hope and Promise scholarships, or are they automatically applied?
The new UT Promise Scholarship, there were additional requirements that students must have met certain due dates in terms of applying for admission, submitting the UT Promise form itself, filing the FAFSA, and following the steps required for that process of applying for UT Promise. And if you met all those requirements and are continuing to attend all the required meetings and everything related to that, it's automatically going to be offered to all eligible students. We're very excited about it. Help me out with the other part of that question.
I think you
Okay.
nailed it right
Okay.
on the
Yeah.
head.
Yeah. Okay,
And
great.
so, unfortunately, guys, we're all out of time to answer your questions live. However, if you do still have questions or want to ask more questions about what was said here, still send in those questions. We have a team standing by, because we are committed to you guys coming to Rocky Top, who will answer those questions for you. And again, referring you back to the resources, you can access us via email at onestop@utk.edu or over the phone at 865-974-1111. Again, thank you for tuning in tonight. It was such a great opportunity. Again, thank you, Tim and Spencer, for sitting with us, and we look forward to having you here on Rocky Top.